So I finally got around to playing The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, we're doing a big one today. Apparently I've been living under a rock for the last 5 years because I have not actually played this game before, despite absolutely adoring the first. So today I emerge from that rock bleary-eyed and pale-skinned, ready to see what all the fuss is about. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit scared to post this review because I cannot remember a game as polarizing as this, maybe ever. Of course, it was critically acclaimed and earned pretty much every accolade a video game can receive at release 5 years ago. But a lot of people really hate this game. And look, I'm not interested in exploring why there is such intense vitriol leveled at this game. All I care about is what I think about it. And hopefully you do too. Hopefully that's why you're here and answer the only question that really matters: how does it play today? If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining me. It is great to have you on board. And if you do like this video even a little, maybe consider giving us a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and get involved in the comments. What game should I play next? We're going to battle your back catalogue one title at a time by playing games that are at least 1 year old and see whether they're worth revisiting today. For a game that narratively is as bleak and hopeless and frankly depressing as Part 2, how fun can this game actually be? That was a big question I had going into it. Well, it turns out that it is very fucking fun. And that's kind of the most shocking thing about Part 2 at times. It's a blast. Gameplay initially seems a bit well-trodden and generic mechanically. It doesn't do anything too groundbreaking or innovative, but instead it's focused more on executing its core mechanics with absolute authority. This may just be the most fully realized this type of game has ever been. That gameplay loop that is so tried and tested in both the action-adventure and survival horror genre is honestly one of my favorites, and it's really well represented here. Surviving enemy encounters by the skin of your teeth, forced to use everything at your disposal, and then proceeding to scavenge the recently cleared area for your spoils to replenish your stocks and level up your character as you try and solve whatever environmental puzzles stand between you and the next area is an endlessly satisfying well to draw from. Part 2 also somehow manages to juggle being a stealth game as well, and a pretty good one at that. Taking someone down in the shadows takes an excruciatingly long time to do, which means that combat, if you choose to approach it covertly, requires a solid degree of planning and timing, of observing enemies' routes and exploiting them when you can. In a way, clearing rooms ends up feeling a bit like solving an intricate puzzle. If you're willing to be patient, you really can be nothing more than a whisper in the dark and watch your adversaries gradually descend into hysteria as you pick them off one by one. Highly recommend. It's a lot of fun. There'll be times you lay prone in the muddied reeds, feeling like Solid Snake's long-lost progeny, but of course, if that's not your thing, you can just blow everyone to bits with fire and brimstone as well. For a game that offers no choice to the player narratively, there's plenty to choose from when it comes to the gameplay. Combat encounters are these highly volatile moments of nail-biting tension, often forcing you to react impulsively, and the result is sometimes clumsy and opportunistic in the most immersive way. Some encounters left me physically shaking. I know how dramatic that sounds, but that's because it was. You weren't there, man. You don't know what it was like. Because while the infected are mindless, countering them is anything but. There's a surprising variety of enemy types, and they each pose their own unique challenges and approaches. I just loved the way that no two fights ever felt the same. Every encounter has this perfect blend of feeling dynamic yet scripted, and it really fulfills that wish of making you feel like you're literally in a movie, playing actor and director in architecting your own personal action scenes and moments of cinematic glory. I can't explain just how satisfying these moments are, how primal they always feel. It's something you've just got to experience for yourself. Combat spaces are tightly designed, environments always provide a new angle or dimension to the way you approach enemies and how they approach you. Honestly, sometimes I felt like some sort of black magic was being worked on me, how such seemingly simple combat, essentially a third-person cover shooter we've seen a billion times before, never felt stale. But these arenas were one of several things I think really contributed to that longevity. That and the set pieces. My God, the set pieces are so impressive. They deliver rushes of blood and heart-pumping action for even the most seasoned adrenaline junkie. You'll often find yourself being instinctively shunted down pathways in the heat of the moment and somehow still being directed to your destination. From a development perspective, if you fumble the scripting in these sequences, all the air just comes rushing out of moments like this. But The Last of Us Part 2 nailed it with level design that operates on such a subconscious level you barely even notice it's there. Add to that the really weighty feel everything has, whether you're landing an explosive headshot or launching an axe into someone's femur. Your enemies will ragdoll and respond to your hits in such a satisfying and convincing way. It's such a winning combo. It can't be understated just how good combat feels, supported by strong physics and an exceptional implementation of the DualSense's haptic feedback. The actual sensory experience of this game is second to none. Naughty Dog really wants you to have a curated experience here without feeling like it's just straight up on rails, and there's many clever ways of doing that. And the way the game nudges you towards the right place and, more importantly, at the right time. It always maintains forward momentum, and when you move on, it always feels right to do so, like the game's almost reassuring you, saying, you're all good, you've seen what you need to see here, now let's get back to the action. I enjoyed knowing I never had to look back, but the fact it does this without any obvious map markers or pointers, opting to drop subtle hints from your companions instead, is especially shrewd. Part 2 is a glowing endorsement for more linear video game experiences, and it made me realize how nice it is as a gamer to actually take a load off for once. It shouldn't always be my job to make the most out of a game or its story, piecing together bits of lore in a bloated database, or undertaking side quests, hunting for a storyline better than the main one. You can kind of just strap yourself in, sit back, and enjoy the entire exhilarating ride. Like the ending of Part 1, which was incredibly controversial, thought-provoking, and has inspired debate for years since its release, The Last of Us Part 2 is once again defiant in its storytelling. If there's any word to describe the way Druckmann and co tell their story, it is that. And it is great to see that brave approach being taken once again here. Often the game will show complete disregard for the player's feelings, or at least keeping them intact, and some people may find that disrespectful, as if Naughty Dog is taking a piss on their favourite rug. But me, I saw it as the importance they placed on bringing a worthy story to its audience rather than simply placating them. At pivotal moments, the game forgoes any attempt at player choice or presenting options to you in moments where most other games would probably do that, because you're not Ellie. Like Joel in the first game, she is a fully formed character with her own thoughts, ideas, dreams, hopes, and fears. You get to play as her, but you do not control who she is or how she acts. You will do what she wants. You will be complicit in acts of extreme violence, whether you like it or not. And as much as you often revel in that bloodlust, thematically, it comes at a great cost. You'll find your role as the good guy in this story completely questioned at first and outright dispelled by the end. In this way, Part 2 really dismantles the traditional action story, methodically pulling each piece apart and looking at it under the cold, harsh light of day. Not content with simply rehashing the greatest hits from the first game, we are introduced to a new central relationship this time, that of Ellie and her new paramour, Dina. And unfortunately, this dynamic, it's just not as good as the one between Joel and Ellie. Joel is a stronger character than Dina. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. And the father-daughter paradigm is just a more winning formula than the young lovers archetype. That's harder to pull off, and you can see that struggle at times throughout the game. Joel and Ellie's relationship, both in Part 1 and here again, is just so much richer. It has this emotional heft to it that's not there in the same way with Dina. The writing, the interactions, the humour that somehow manages to exist between them, the way they provide contrast between each other, they make such an unforgettable and truly iconic video game duo, one that encapsulates all of the heartbreak found at the end of the world. Their chemistry is pitch perfect again in Part 2, and I found myself desperately longing to return to the moments where they were together. Dina, on the other hand, is just too similar to Ellie. At times, she feels almost like the same person. I found the writing of their dialogue occasionally painful, which tries to be snarky and flirtatious, and often just fails to pull it off, sounding more like what someone thinks a couple of young adults talk like and not how they actually do. Abby, however, is a fantastic addition to the game. She is so complex, not falling neatly into any obvious archetype, and she goes on this genuinely compelling character arc. I ended up liking her crew more than Ellie's as well, which ended up feeling quite intentional. I won't say much more because we'll start to head into spoiler territory. I really like Ellie though. I just like Ellie. I liked her in the first game. I like her even more here. Her character is harder to sell this time around, but in turn feels truly earned. She feels appropriately expanded on and really deserves to be the game's heroine. Because, and this can't be understated, Ellie is a fucking badass. When every man and his dog is trying to do the strong female lead thing, it's great to recognize one that's as authentic as this. That authenticity is sold in no small part thanks to some of the highest quality voice work I've heard in a video game. Troy Baker. I mean, this guy just continues his victory lap as one of the best to ever do it. He's an absolute GOAT, and he turns in another phenomenal, flawless performance as Joel. Every line of his just dripping with paternal protection and stoic resolve. Ashley Johnson is just as good as she was in part 1, if not better, now displaying an impressive range as she alternates between a younger, playful Ellie and her current cynical state. But the supporting roles are really good too. Patrick Fugit especially stands out as the very likeable and lovingly sarcastic Owen. His performance really sells his dialogue, which could have easily come across as insufferable, but is instead charming. Conversation itself is stark, often left alone by the soundtrack. It rarely bursts in to tell you, hey, this is how you should be feeling about that really devastating thing that character just said. Instead, it's happy to just let those words hang in the air. And it's so much more powerful for that. While the score is used sparingly, it's crushing when it does appear. Lots of singular notes plucked out on a guitar, followed by these rich acoustic flourishes. It's really emotive, and the main motif especially is haunting. Most of the game is silent though, and that's a really inspired choice because it does so much to build the atmosphere. The nature of your surroundings ends up creating its own soundtrack to the silence. Cicadas chirping, birds singing, the trickle of a river. It's a subtle symphony that is both tranquil and tense, always foreshadowing the potential violence that could explode at any moment. The game overflows with environmental storytelling like this. All these little touches that show a world frozen in time, like decorations that have been left up for a kid's birthday party. Unopened presents have never made me so uneasy. You'll stumble on these smaller stories that can be easily overlooked, and some of the most emotionally affecting moments in the game involve characters you never even see. One of my main criticisms though is the game is quite long, and it doesn't always feel like it needs to be. By the end, I was pretty exhausted, and I think the same can be said for the story, which starts to crumble under the weight of supporting the 30 plus hours of linear scripted gameplay. But honestly, this is a small complaint. I know it might not sound like it, but for the most part, the story is really engaging and does manage to hold your attention for the vast bulk of its playtime. And given the nature of the kind of game this is, that is impressive. Visually and cinematically, it's a sight to behold. Every shot, especially in the cutscenes, is presented with such clear direction and captures the undeniable beauty of the world despite the bleak apocalyptic backdrop, and frames the isolation of the people who inhabit it. It looks like a movie, one that if existed would be lauded for its cinematography and direction. No wonder the TV series is a critical darling, they're just following the source material. Facial animation is remarkable. It's amazing to see how much this technology has grown in such a short time, because there were times I almost forgot I was playing a game. It takes the world of motion capture technology to brave new heights without ever falling into that uncanny valley. Visually, there just aren't too many other games that match Part 2's technical scope and graphical fidelity. I will admit, at first I was like, man, is this all gonna be snow? I mean, this game don't look that good. And then we got to Seattle. God damn it. They pulled the old Red Dead 2 trick on us. Because once you reach the lush overgrowth of the city, the game really does start flexing its muscles with that trademark look of the earth reclaiming itself that the series is so well known for. Stunningly realised once again, moss-covered cars sunken into the soil, vibrant rainforests housed in skyscrapers. Part 2 really stakes its ownership over this unique aesthetic. No two areas of the world look the same. Hell, no 2 square centimetres look the same. It's populated with an absurd amount of individual detail, family photos left on office desks, the deterioration of a shopfront's once proud signage, and the prehistoric vegetation that's taking it all back. Environments are picturesque and feel purposefully handcrafted, right down to every last blade of grass. Every area is just drenched in this tangible aura. It feels like you can smell the petrol in the air and the bugs on your skin in the warm, balmy night. Thick fog hangs above concrete jungles that have turned into real ones, and the sun bursts from a blazing car, its light dancing in the darkness. And the lighting here in this game, I mean, I don't have the technical knowledge to adequately describe just how good this shit is, but my god, it's awe-inspiring. Sound design is totally A-grade, it's directional, three-dimensional, people's voices move around your ears depending on where they are spatially, and change in timbre depending on the acoustics of the room, reverberating through loud ones and getting crisper in smaller ones. The infected as well sound wonderfully repulsive with all their congested and phlegmy noises, sure to live on in my nightmares forever. The detail is just crazy. It's right up there with Red Dead 2. I know I've already mentioned that game once, but the parallels really are there. They've taken so many pages out of Rockstar's book. The sparkling glitter of snowfall, the refracted guttering light of your torch. Every collector card even has its own individual level of wear and tear. You can see the veins tracking across a character's arms and the way mud will cake on them after crawling in the dirt. Runnels of blood will even pool in the grooves of a wood-panelled floor after killing an enemy. It's insane. The devil's in the detail, and the detail in the violence of Part 2 is sickeningly realistic. I would gape at the crime scene left in the wake of my carnage, with the blood spatter on nearby walls enough to make Dexter Morgan blush. Every single gunshot seems to produce a totally unique explosion of gore and viscera. It's a thing of beauty. Okay, now I am starting to sound like a serial killer. The camera moves organically with the action, adding a visual flair to every kill. That means killing is really gratuitous and feels really, really good. Which of course is so interesting because of how much the series has to say about that violence. Look, we make jokes about Quad A games, a term coined by the likes of Ubisoft and EA, but if such a category actually were to exist, it's games like this that would be deserving of belonging in it. For me, The Last of Us Part 2 represents a really premium experience as a gamer. While most other titles feel like cable TV, this is the HBO equivalent. It tells a deep and nuanced story with a heavy emphasis on its characters. Naughty Dog have reset the bar they already set with Part 1 when it comes to the production values you can expect from a true blockbuster of the genre, while still managing to give gamers something immensely fun to actually play. I do believe we have a better core gameplay experience this time around, and while the storytelling may falter in some places and isn't as well rounded as the first, it's still audacious and takes some daring risks that are sure to shock and revile. If, like me, you've been cryogenically frozen for the last 5 years and somehow haven't played this yet, make this the next game you play. Ignore the outside noise, stay away from spoilers, and make up your own mind, because whether you love it or hate it, this is a must play in my opinion, and one that has to move to the top of your backlog. And if you've got a game on your backlog you'd like me to review next, well, let me know in the comments. That's what we do here on The Patient Gamer. We review older games to see whether they're worth going back to today. We battle your back catalogue one title at a time. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. Man, that was a lot, and hopefully you were able to get something out of it. And if you liked any of the video, please consider giving it a like. If you didn't like it, then please just don't come after my family. And if you would consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content like this, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll see you next time, and be patient.